Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Above All Laws. With an estimated 39 million people, California remains the most populous state in our nation. We are a diverse people who come from a variety of ethnicities, religions, beliefs, and ideas. Our ways of life are as diverse as our languages, our foods, our arts, and our dreams. We are a unique ingredient in this larger pie we call America, and we should always remind ourselves of the unique position we are in when casting our votes for whom to represent us as the next president of the United States. Which brings us to another true story of political corruption, this time by former California Attorney General and current Senator Kamala Harris, who successfully ran for a seat in the U.S. Senate during the 2016 election. A Howard University and UC Hastings graduate who initially failed her first bar exam, Kamala, who was raised from the age of 7 until she was 18 in Canada, made her way into the Alameda County DA's office and was hired as a DDA, or Deputy District Attorney, from 1990 until 1998. But Kamala's fame would not come from her powerful prosecutorial skills, but rather from dating a then-married California Speaker of the Assembly, Willie Brown, in 1993. Kamala was able to make powerful connections needed to build the corrupt stepping stones that would one day take her to a U.S. Senate seat while destroying another woman's marriage. Kamala was loyal to Willie Brown while they were dating. She was actively involved in Brown's 1995 mayoral race, and after he won, Brown dumped her 2 weeks later. Kamala went back to her duties at the Alameda DA's office, but with a bit more power, and her colleagues knew it. After completing her 8 years with the Alameda DA's office, Kamala was hired in 1998 to manage the career criminal unit of the San Francisco District Attorney's Office, while Brown was still the mayor. Kamala's timing couldn't be better when she ran for District Attorney of the city of San Francisco. The incumbent, Terrence Hallinan, had been under intense public scrutiny for his indictments of the entire leadership of the San Francisco PD and its first black chief, Earl Sanders. Kamala's defeat of Hallinan was a given and fed her thirst for ultimate power. But Kamala was really no fan of law enforcement, at least not in its then current form, and she set out to change it. Her first real challenge as the elected DA came in April 2004. When the San Francisco Police Department suffered a devastating loss. San Francisco police officer Isaac Espinoza was shot and killed in the line of duty. While the officer's family, friends, and the entire city were still grieving, its top law enforcement leader told them all publicly that she would not seek the death penalty against a cop killer. During Officer Espinoza's funeral, Senator Dianne Feinstein called out Harris publicly, who was sitting in the front row. "Secure the death penalty against Officer Espinoza's killer," Feinstein demanded from the church's podium, which prompted the crowd of over 2,000 people in attendance to rise to their feet in applause. Kamala refused to listen to a fallen hero's family, his fellow law enforcement officers, and the people of San Francisco. Officer Espinoza's murderer was sentenced to life in prison. Kamala, further outraged by the DA who prosecuted the case, wasn't done yet. She made sure that the prosecutor of Officer Espinoza's killer was demoted to her former low position in the DA's office because he too wanted to seek the death penalty. Throughout her tenure as the DA of San Francisco, Kamala continued her protection of criminals when she created a program called Back on Track, which actually hired undocumented immigrants until one of them was arrested for assault. The program was revised to no longer break the law, but Kamala continued to protect informants with ties to the Nuestra family, a violent prison gang involved in drug trafficking and weapons possession. And while at the DA's office in San Francisco, Kamala wanted nothing more than to clear the books and pled 32 of the 74 cases on the books down to lesser charges, like manslaughter, simple assault, and burglary, wiping away any justice for the families of the murdered victims. During her tenure, fewer than 4 out of 100 arrests resulted in prison time, which was the lowest in the state. The next lowest was Alameda County at 12.8 out of 100, and the highest being San Diego at 41 out of 100 arrests made were sent to prison. And Kamala was severely scolded by a San Francisco judge and nearly forced to grant a request to throw out 40 drug defendant cases because her office violated the defendant's rights by hiding damaging information about a police drug lab technician. In a scathing ruling, The judge concluded that prosecutors had failed to fulfill their constitutional duty to tell defense attorneys about problems surrounding Deborah Madden, the now retired technician, at the heart of a cocaine skimming scandal that led police to shut down the drug analysis section of their crime lab. The one-time bar exam failure, Kamala Harris, somehow continued on her way to the California Attorney General's office, and with all of her past connections and contacts in the underworld, Kamala Harris became California's first female black Attorney General, and so clinched her place in the highly coveted spot for all corrupt politicians, being above all laws. And when you're above all laws, you can create your own law enforcement agency, just as Kamala Harris did. And how could she? Is that not illegal? These answers and more when Above All Laws returns.